Get dressed with me for Browns versus 49ers.
Dillon Gabriel's fiance, Zoe Caswell, is catching a ton of heat after she appeared to take shots at starting quarterback Shadur Sanders following the team's loss to the 49ers. In a recent TikTok video on Zoe's account, she captioned a video showing her outfit for the game, "Browns lost, what's new?" People were very quick to accuse her of doing this because Shadur started and not Dillon, and comments like, "I don't remember these captions when your man was QB1," and "Love your content but very disappointed in the caption, need to support this team whether he's in or not," only confirm that. She tried to defend herself by saying it was a joke, but no one is seeming to buy it. But unfortunately, it doesn't end there, and another comment chain surfaced on her TikTok where she responded to comments saying that no one in the Browns building wants Dillon to play. She responded to the comments saying that everybody in the organization wants him to start over Shedeur and says that they haven't played in the NFL or coached, so how would they know? This is obviously a very odd comment coming from someone who has also not played or coached in the NFL.
The Cleveland Browns just made a shocking announcement that no one expected coming. And I can tell you that the fallout is huge. Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback who was expected to lead this team into the future, is now officially out for the rest of the 2025 season. You heard that right. The boy who came into the NFL with a lot of buzz, expectations, and confidence is now watching as his aspirations fall apart right in front of him. This isn't simply a benching, people. This is a turning point in Dillon Gabriel's career that could change the course of his professional football career. And to be honest, it could be the start of the end for a lot of people in the Browns organization. The news came out early this morning, and people in Cleveland say that the signs had been there for weeks. But this is where things really start to go crazy. This news comes only days after Gabriel's girlfriend embarked on a social media outburst that got a lot of people in the football world talking. Did she already know that her man's career was about to take a turn for the worse? Did she see this coming and decide to fight for him? Or did her public rage really make the Browns decide to end the Dillon Gabriel experiment faster? The timing is just too strange to overlook, and the drama around this issue is thicker than the fog that rolls off Lake Erie in Cleveland. Since the first day, Dillon Gabriel's time with the Cleveland Browns has been a complete disaster. There was hope when the team picked him. There was hope that they had finally discovered their franchise quarterback, even if it was just a little bit. But as the weeks grew into months, it became clear that Gabriel was not ready for the NFL. At best, his efforts on the field were uneven. At worst, they were awful. Fans were upset, experts were confused, and the coaching staff was said to be at its wits' end trying to find out how to get anything useful out of their starting quarterback. But this is what really gets folks worked up about the whole thing. A lot of people think that Dillon Gabriel shouldn't have been handed the starting job in the first place. The competition during training camp and the preseason made it very clear that there were other players on the roster who were better prepared, more talented, and more deserving of leading this team. But for reasons that still puzzle football fans all around the country, the Browns front office gave Gabriel control of the offense. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who has been under a lot of stress himself, decided to start Gabriel over other possibilities, including Shadur Sanders, who had shown flashes of brilliance whenever he got the chance to play. From the start, it seemed controversial to start Gabriel instead of Sanders. Scouts, commentators, and even former players were scratching their heads, wondering why Cleveland was so dedicated to a quarterback who clearly wasn't ready. Some others thought that politics within the organization might have had anything to do with it. Some people said that Stefanski was too proud of Gabriel to acknowledge he was wrong. No matter what the reason, the Browns kept Dillon Gabriel around for much longer than they should have. The results speak for themselves. The team had a hard time scoring. Fans were quite angry because their team lost games that they should have won. Let's take a moment to talk about Kevin Stefanski, because he had a big part in this mess. A lot of people say that Stefanski did more harm than good for Dillon Gabriel. Stefanski may have permanently hurt Gabriel's confidence and image in the league by putting a young, unprepared quarterback in a tough situation and not taking him out, even when it was clear that things weren't going well. Gabriel didn't know what to do on the field. He made bad decisions, was not always accurate, and could not read NFL defenses. Stefanski maintained giving Gabriel first-team workouts and starting him week after week, even though he knew he wasn't good enough. Why did it take so long? That's what everyone is asking now. Why did the Browns have to wait for Dillon Gabriel to get hurt before they finally turned to Shadur Sanders? Sanders had been waiting in the wings, showing that he had the arm strength, speed, and football IQ to do well at this level in limited play. But he stayed on the bench as Gabriel had trouble. It's a choice that might haunt this club for years to come, especially if Sanders goes on to have success now that he's finally been given his shot. People are really excited about Shadur Sanders' ascension to starting quarterback. People close to Brown are already saying that Sanders may win the rest of the games on the schedule if all goes well. That's a strong statement, but it makes sense when you compare Sanders' skills to Gabriel's. Mary Kay Cabot said in her research that Sanders has that exceptional precision. He has a strong arm, amazing touch on the ball, and maybe most significantly, he has that it factor that great quarterbacks have. When you watch Sanders play, you sense confidence. You can tell that this athlete thinks he belongs on the pitch and has the skills to prove it. But let's slow down for a moment and talk about the big issue at hand. The Browns' offense has been terrible this season, no matter who has been playing quarterback. Jerry Judy was meant to be the top receiver and a safety net for whoever was playing quarterback, but he hasn't been seen much. Joe Flacco, who has done well with this squad in the past, even claimed that this offense goes as Jerry goes. This season, Jerry hasn't been going anywhere useful, which has been a huge problem. It has also been interesting to see what happens between Shadur Sanders and Jerry Judy. The two had a fight on the sidelines that got everyone's attention. It was said that Judy was getting in Sanders' face over something, which had Michael Oran go out on his show about how rude that was. Oran made a good point when he emphasized that the quarterback is not your enemy. You can't act like that toward your quarterback, especially in front of cameras and teammates. It makes people fight. It ruins chemistry and makes everyone feel bad. Last week, Sanders threw a great pass to Judy. But instead of using that connection and momentum to do something good, he chose to make drama. That's not how to create a culture that wins. And that's not how you help a young quarterback who is trying to get used to this league. Now, let's talk about Dillon Gabriel again. What will happen to him in the future? People who know the Browns say that Gabriel may stay with the franchise as a backup quarterback, either for Cleveland or for another team. But this is the truth. A lot of people think that Kevin Stefanski will get fired. And if he does, Dillon Gabriel will probably leave too. The two are tied together at this moment. Stefanski tied his wagon to Gabriel's, and when one goes down, the other is sure to go down too. The Haslam family, who owns the Cleveland Browns, has a strange history of firing coaches. Reports suggest that they've never directly fired a head coach by declaring, "You're no longer part of this organization." Instead, they've always let coaches find other jobs and go on their own terms. It's a nice way to do things, but it also means that coaches sometimes stay longer than they should. Is this the year that the Haslams finally pull the trigger and say what they mean? Could they really terminate Kevin Stefanski and send a clear message that the way this team is going is not okay? The pressure is growing every week, but we'll have to wait and see. Brown supporters are especially angry since this whole thing could have been avoided. It was clear to anyone who was paying attention that Dillon Gabriel was not the right person as far back as June. There were symptoms of trouble during structured team activities. They were there during training camp, and they were undoubtedly there during the preseason. Still, the group decided to ignore those warnings and keep Gabriel as their starting. There was no proof to back up the choice. It was based on hope, and that's never a good way to do things in professional football. The NFL is a tough league. In college football, better players and coaches can hide flaws, but in professional football, every flaw is on display. People pointed out Dillon Gabriel's flaws early and often, and sadly for him, the exposures happened on national TV in front of millions of people and were heavily criticized on social media. There was a record of every botched throw, every wrong choice, and every sack taken because the quarterback didn't read the defense correctly. That's what it's like to be an NFL quarterback these days. Gabriel wasn't ready for so much stress and criticism. But let's be honest for a second. Dillon Gabriel isn't to blame for everything. He didn't play well, but the coaching staff and front office also put him in a bad spot. They drafted him knowing he needed development time. During the offseason program, they saw that he wasn't ready, but they put him in the starting lineup regardless, put him with a supporting cast that wasn't doing well, and thought he would figure it out on the fly. That's not how to help a young quarterback grow. That's how you break one. The best method to train a quarterback is to take your time with him. Let him learn how fast the NFL game is from the sidelines. Give him a little bit of playing time in games that are already decided, and then give him more responsibilities when he shows he is ready. The Browns accomplished none of that with Dillon Gabriel. They went from nothing to everything, and the outcomes were what we expected. Gabriel looked like he was in much over his head and couldn't handle it. He lost all of his confidence. His car broke down. And toward the conclusion of his stint as the starter, he was playing football like he was afraid. The coaching staff is just as responsible as he is. Mary Kay Cabot, a longtime Browns reporter, has been very entertaining to listen to during this whole thing. Some of the things she has said have caused people to raise their eyebrows and start a fight. First, she called Shadur Sanders fun-sized, which many people thought was a jab at his height. Then, in her most recent analysis, she said that Sanders should keep humble and not think he's made it just because he wins a game or two. That comment made a lot of people angry because you want a quarterback who is sure of himself. Sanders has earned the right to be sure of himself. He has shown that he can do it at every level, from high school to college to now earning his chance in the NFL. People shouldn't try to lower his confidence or tell him to feel less confident of himself. That's the last thing he needs. This makes me think about how the media talks about and judges quarterbacks. It looks like there is a double standard. People praise some quarterbacks for being leaders and having an alpha attitude when they show confidence and swagger, while they criticize other quarterbacks for being arrogant or tell them to keep humble. It's not consistent, and it should be called out. Shadur Sanders has every reason to be sure. He has worked really hard to reach this far. Throughout his career, he's had to deal with problems and people who didn't believe in him. Now he finally has a chance to show that he belongs in the NFL. Give the man some confidence. Give him some swagger. That's what good quarterbacks have. Michael Irvin, a Hall of Fame wide receiver and current pundit, talked about the Jerry Judy situation, and what he said was spot on. Irvin stressed that the quarterback is not your enemy. You don't talk to your quarterback on the sideline in front of everyone. Professionals deal with their problems in private. You talk. You work through the difficulty and move on together. That's how teams that win championships work. Judy's choice to publicly confront Sanders was childish, unhelpful, and honestly, it makes you question his professionalism and dedication to the team's success. Irvin also said that Sanders gave Judy a great pass last week, a ball that was perfectly placed so that Judy could make a spectacular catch. But instead of being pleased about the connection they were creating, Judy was doing his own thing and not really celebrating with his quarterback or thanking him for a beautiful throw. That's not how you get along with your quarterback. That's not how you build the kind of bond that makes for good offensive football. If Judy wants to be the number one receiver and the one his quarterback can count on in important situations, he needs to modify how he thinks and acts. The Browns' offense has had a lot of problems this season, and they have been quite bad. There have been problems with more than just the quarterback position, but that's been a big one. The offensive line hasn't always done a good job of protecting. The running game hasn't worked so well. The receivers haven't been able to consistently get away from their defenders. People have questioned the play calling. There has been a perfect storm of problems, and it has led to one of the worst offenses in the NFL. That's why it will be hard to judge Shadur Sanders fairly in these last few games. Even if he performs well, people will still wonder if he's really talented or if he's just better than Dillon Gabriel, who set a very low bar. The Browns are now stuck in this trap. They need to figure out if Shadur Sanders is their quarterback of the future, but it's hard to do that when their offense is broken and the scenario is bad. It's not fair to Sanders, and it's not the best circumstance, but that's how it is. The Browns need to know before the 2026 NFL Draft if they need to deploy a high pick on a quarterback. If they can't declare for sure that Sanders is the right guy, they may have to choose another quarterback and start this whole torturous process over again. This would be a nightmare for Browns fans who have been through decades of quarterback uncertainty and disappointment. The ramifications of Dillon Gabriel's benching transcend beyond the trajectory of a single player. This circumstance shows that the Browns' organizational decision-making isn't very good. It makes you wonder about Kevin Stefanski's judgment and whether he can tell if a quarterback is good. It shows that the team's offensive philosophy and execution aren't working. It shows that the locker room isn't working right and that players aren't leading well. These are all huge problems that are much bigger than whether Dillon Gabriel plays or sits for the rest of this season. The Haslam family, including Jimmy Haslam, is said to be unhappy with how things are going right now, and they have every reason to be. They've put a lot of money into this franchise. They hired what they considered were the best coaches. They picked athletes they thought would become stars. They've made huge moves in free agency. But the results are always the same, year after year. The Browns keep letting their fans down and not living up to their potential, which makes them angry and disappointed. At some point, the owners need to step in and demand responsibility. They have to make hard choices about where this franchise is going, even if those choices make them uncomfortable or go against what they would normally do. This is a huge setback for Dillon Gabriel. He was a starting NFL quarterback just a few months ago, and he could have become a key player for the team. Now, he's been put on the bench. His confidence is probably broken, and his chances of playing professional football in the future are quite slim. If a quarterback doesn't do well on their first try, the NFL isn't a forgiving place. It's not very common to get a second chance, and when you do, it's usually as a backup or with a club that really needs someone who can take a snap. Gabriel didn't see this career path when he was drafted, but it's the one he has to deal with today. It's also important to look at the connection between Gabriel and his girlfriend, who went on that now famous rant on social media. In today's world of social media, professional athletes' significant others have platforms and voices that can help or hurt their partners' careers. In this scenario, she made the issue even harder by going public with her frustrations, whatever they were about. Did it have anything to do with the Browns' choice to bench Gabriel? Not directly, but it definitely didn't help. It created another layer of distraction, another headline, and another cause for many to wonder if Gabriel was mature and stable enough to be the franchise quarterback. Everyone will be watching Shadur Sanders for the rest of the 2025 season. Can he come in and fix this offensive right away? Can he build a relationship with receivers who haven't been doing well all season? Can he work behind an offensive line that hasn't always been able to protect him? Can he make plays that get his teammates thrilled and give them hope? These are the questions that will shape the next several weeks for the Cleveland Browns. The schedule does give you chances, that's for sure. There are still games that can be won. If Sanders can get hot and help this club win, it will change the story about this franchise altogether. We'd be talking about a rookie quarterback who stepped in and saved the day, instead of another lost season and problems with the organization. We would be talking about whether the Browns finally discovered their man. Instead of being scared about next season, we'd be looking forward to it. But Sanders also needs help from his teammates, especially on offense. Jerry Judy needs to act like a professional and be the best receiver our club needs him to be. The offensive line needs to do a better job of protecting Sanders and giving him time to work. The running backs need to do a better job to help the passing game. The coaches need to give Sanders chances to succeed and not ask him to do too much too quickly. If all of those things can come together, there's a good potential that this Browns squad will finish the season strong and get some momentum going into the offseason. Kevin Stefanski's future is the big issue, of course. No matter what happens for the rest of the season, there are substantial doubts about whether he should stay as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. His management of the quarterback position has been, at best, questionable and at worst, a disaster. His offensive philosophy, which worked well at first, is now old and useless. People have questioned his ability to get the best out of his players. He is an excellent coach in many ways and a decent person in general, but sometimes a change is needed. An organization may need a new voice and a new point of view to move forward. The Browns might have gotten to that stage with Stefanski. The Browns fans, who are some of the most dedicated and passionate fans in all of professional sports, deserve better than what they've been given this season. They deserve a squad that plays with passion and skill, making them proud to wear the orange and brown. They deserve a stable structure and smart decision-making. For the next 10 years, they should have a franchise quarterback they can trust. It's not certain if Shadur Sanders can be that guy, but at least he finally has a chance to show it. Dillon Gabriel's career is over for now, at least for this chapter. How he handles this setback will determine if he gets another chance with the Browns or another NFL team. Does he pout and blame others, or does he put his head down and work to make every part of his game better? Will he learn from this and come back stronger, or does he let it constrain and define him? Every athlete has to deal with these kinds of character questions at some time in their career. Gabriel's replies will decide if he ever gets another chance to be a starting NFL quarterback. The Cleveland Browns' decision to publicly bench Dillon Gabriel for the rest of the 2025 season marks a turning point for this team. It's a way of saying that a mistake was made. It's a sign that change was needed. It's a risk to bet that Shadur Sanders is the answer they've been looking for. And it's a clear sign that people are tired of how things are right now. It is still unclear if this choice will lead to improved success on the field. But there's one thing we know for sure. The Dillon Gabriel era in Cleveland is done, and whatever happens next has to be better than what we've seen so far this season. So, what do you think of all this drama? Was it a big mistake for the Browns to keep Dillon Gabriel for as long as they did? Is Shadur Sanders really the answer at quarterback, or is he just going to be another failed experiment in Cleveland? Should Kevin Stefanski be let go right away? Or should he get a chance to finish the season? And what about Jerry Judy getting in his quarterback's face on the sideline? Was that wrong? Or was it just enthusiasm and a desire to win? Leave your opinions in the comments below, because I want to know what you think about this crazy thing going on in Cleveland. If you liked this in-depth look into the Dillon Gabriel benching scenario, please hit the like button, subscribe so you never miss another video, and ring the notification bell so you're always the first to know when we post new content. We have more breaking news, more drama, and more analysis to share with you, so stay here. Until next time, keep your chin up, ignore the critics, and know that things may change in the NFL at any time. Goodbye.